everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be doing the commentary / analysis for episode 13 of Miraculous Ladybug season 5. Migration, but before I go any further, two things as always. I'm about to spoil the whole episode for you, so please go and watch it before you watch this video. And I would say I'll link it down below for you, but these episodes are getting increasingly harder and harder to find because they're just really on it with the copyright this season because of all the leaks, which is great, don't get me wrong, but they're just getting really tricky to find. So I'm probably not even, I think I'm just gonna stop trying to link them down below because I'm finding them so hard to find, and when I'm looking for them I'm coming across leaks as well, so I'm gonna stop linking them, but please try and watch it before you watch this video because I'm gonna spoil it all for you. And the second thing, as always, haven't read the show Bible or seen the vast majority of the leaks, so even though in this video I'm really gonna be focusing on this episode, I'm not gonna be doing too much speculating about other stuff. I would really appreciate it if you didn't comment below any Bible spoilers or leaks, whatever. I don't want to know, and most people watching because they also don't want to know, so if you could keep those out of it, that would be wonderful. So this episode, oh my gosh, oh, it was great. I filmed a reaction video. I might have some cat hair on me because Kit Kat was sat on my lap for like half of the reaction, but oh my god, it was amazing. I would give this a 9.5. I thought it was pretty good. There's a couple of things I was a bit like, really? But otherwise I thought it was amazing. The plot of the whole episode, I was just like, yes. Even though I'd kind of theorised and I was correct, just because of Luka's absence in other episodes, because I'm not waiting to watch in chronological order. I've seen all the way up until Revelation, apart from Derision and Intuition, which are actually coming out tomorrow and next week, so we'll be caught up pretty soon. So I already knew he wasn't in it any further, and I'd made a theory video about where he'd gone, so I kind of already knew, not that I knew the exact situation, but I knew he was going to be leaving because he's absent, he's not in them. So I was like, okay, what exactly has happened? So I was expecting that, and I really hoped he was going to tell Marinette and Adrian, or one of them, that he knew, which he did, but there was some stuff in this I wasn't expecting that I thoroughly enjoyed. It had a great structure to this episode, great pacing, didn't feel like it was rushing, wasn't too slow either. It was a solid episode writing wise pretty much. So let's get into it. And I loved how this episode opened with like the little therapy session. So I didn't watch the first minute that Glue released yesterday, so I don't actually know if this was included, but they were hilarious. I loved them. Well, they were hilarious in a way. They were kind of sad, like Marinette's was kind of sad, but it ended kind of nicely, you know what I mean? But like, I felt like kind of like it needed a bit of comic relief because the episode gets more serious in certain parts, like towards the end. But even the ending, I felt like it wasn't a sad ending, you know what I mean? Even though it concludes with Luka having to leave, I didn't feel like it was sad. Like, I am sad still, but like it wasn't like a sad goodbye he had. You know, he's not going to be on his own, it's going to be Jagged and Penny. But I did feel like this kind of opening was done really well, and the akuma as well was kind of funny in places to help offset how the episode ends, and I just loved it. I thought first of all it was great for Luka's development and his characterization, and it shows how valuable of a character he is to the other characters around him. I just thought it was great, and it makes him more sad when he does ultimately leave at the end of this episode. So Luka was just amazing. I can't imagine how I'd feel if the person, I mean, I would argue Luka's still in love with Marinette. I do believe that, but like, he knows he doesn't have a chance, he's respecting her, which is wonderful because a lot of people don't do that. But like, he knows he doesn't have a chance, but I think he still is in love with her, in my opinion. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I think he does still love her. So I can't imagine how difficult that must be for him to have this conversation with Marinette, but she feels comfortable around him enough to be able to go and talk to him like that. Like, I can't imagine going up to one of my exes and having this conversation about this other guy I now liked. So it just shows how wonderful of a person Luka is. And then as Marinette leaves, Adrian's arriving, and there's that little Adrianette moment, and they change into Ladybug and Cat Noir. Loved it. But then Adrian has his little therapy session, and Luka's advice was so great in that moment, saying like, oh, I act slightly differently depending on who I'm with, but it's still me. I was just like, yes, Luka. And then the Jagged Stone thing with his worries, I was a bit like, should you really be coming to your son to ask you how to be a better parent? But I guess I was like, it does kind of make sense because he's your son, he's the one you're parenting. It makes sense to ask the person who it affects for advice. And then Penny, oh my gosh. I have shipped Jagged and Penny since probably Troublemaker. and I've always loved them together, but I wasn't sure it was ever gonna be a thing, and I didn't even think she'd be in this episode. Like, Penny's hardly ever in the show, so why would I have thought that? So I was like, oh cool, Penny's here. And then my complete surprise, it's confirmed that she's in love with him. I lost, oh my, I hadn't expected it at all. Yes, I loved it so much. Like, I'm not 100% sure they're together. By the end cards, it does kind of seem like they are. I don't know, they seem to like each other. And I love it. But like that whole first sequence with little therapy sections, it gives extra characterization to these other characters who we may not know about the worries. Like, we don't really get to see another side of Penny because like she's such a background character, really shouldn't have that many lines in most of the episode. She's not in most of the show, so we get to see more sides of them. Plus as well about Adrian, we often don't get to see him when he's sad. We see a lot of Marinette when she's more sad and vulnerable, but not the case with Adrian. So I'm glad we got that as well. But also just overall, it shows how valuable Luka is and what kind of person he is, that he's always willing to listen and give someone a second chance. So while I'm a bit like, oh Luka, you shouldn't have signed that contract, it kind of shows how wonderful of a person Luka is, that he's willing to give this man who's already screwed him over once in Silencer another chance. So I did think it was plausible given how the episode opened. I mean, I already know Luka is a far better person than I will ever be, but I just felt having the episode open like that really showcased Luka's character, and it made the whole thing just make more sense why he signed with Bob. And I do think it's plausible as well that Bob completely forgot, because he just said it in Silencer, in my opinion, to get out of the situation at the end of the episode. He just said it, he didn't mean it, which I think is pretty plausible that he forgot. Like, I know Luka mentions it to termination, but Bob obviously forgot. So I'm not surprised in the slightest that Bob screwed them over. I was expecting that completely. Also, the whole scuba gear thing, I was like, as far as I'm aware, the 3D character models you make, they are incredibly expensive to make. That's why the characters don't change outfits a lot. And like, I hope they're gonna use this again. Like, how much did they pay for this scuba model for Bob? For like 2 scenes. It's insane. But I was like, okay, like, I mean, you should have signed this in the presence with a lawyer, but alright, anyway, whatever. So one of the reasons this episode isn't a full 10 out of 10 is this next bit. So Luka gets angry, the butterfly comes for him. He doesn't get akumatized, which I kind of knew he wasn't going to be, because it would be a disaster if he did. But I was a bit like, and I'm kind of on the fence about this, so let me know what you think. Whereas a bit like, whilst I understand completely that Monarch Daddy, he can sense the emotions, get that, 100%. And he can use the negative ones to his advantage, and he picks up fear and panic, and that Luka really doesn't want this. But then from that, he concludes that Luka knows the identities. So part of me is a bit like, that's a bit tenuous, he could have been scared of something else. Like, I know Luka's been akumatized twice, I don't know how pleasant an experience being akumatized is, but I could imagine Luka would be a bit like, no thank you, not again, not for a 3rd time, no, I don't want this, no thank you. So I can understand it in that vein. So I'm a bit like, would Monarch Daddy necessarily get the conclusion that Luka knows our identities? Like, I know he's, seemed to have grown a brain this season, but I'm like, would he have made that leap? But also, on the flip side, I'm also kind of like, forget that, forget it not making complete sense. I love that Monarch knows that Luka knows our identities, and felt like the dramatic of it, and how much danger Luka's gonna be. So part of me is like, would he really know? The other part of me is like, I don't care. This is amazing. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm on the fence about it. So I'm like, I'm not confident Monarch Daddy should be able to work that out without more information. But also at the same time, I'm like, I don't care, because I loved that scene exchange between the two of them. I think it was written really well. The emotions in it from Luka and Gabriel babes, it was amazing, and just because of the implications it's gonna have, that's the moment he finds out. So I'm kind of on the fence with it. And I'm like, he shouldn't know. But I'm also like, that scene was fabulous, I can't help but love it, you know what I mean? So I'm a bit like, I'm not really sure. So then we get to the Akuma, and the power was so odd. But like, again, it was a bit of comic relief for the episode since what happened at the end. So I didn't mind it being absolutely stupid. Plus as well, Bob isn't particularly a character I've ever taken seriously. Like Lila, I take a bit more seriously as kind of sinister. So if she was given an Akuma like this, I'd be a bit like, huh? But I can kind of see where they're coming from for Bob, since he's not really a serious character. He just comes in to be a bit horrible to people and then leaves until the next time they need them. But then the thing, so he goes to throw the record to Luka, I think, and then Rose jumps in the way, and then she confesses that she loves Julika. Now, like, my first reaction to that is like, oh my god, like a proper relationship in love confession. And Julika blushes, so I felt that was confirmation. But then Rose goes on to sing, and I love Ivan and Luka and Marinette and Elliot and all my friends and family. So I was a bit like, okay, I feel like it was like plausible deniability where the producers could be like, no, it's meant to be platonic. Like, she loves all of her friends and family. But because she says Julika first, and because Julika blushes, I feel like, to me, that's the best confirmation we're gonna get. I know, I hate it being this way. It's just, without swearing, it's rubbish. I wanted to use a stronger word, but I don't swear in my videos. So I was like, okay, plausible deniability, alright. I just wish it was different, but it's not. This is sadly the world we live in, and it's so annoying. I want something similar for Mark and Nathaniel now. Okay, we've done Rose and Julika. I feel like it's been confirmed. Mark and Nathaniel, please, next. So then all the kids start running off. Luka sends everyone down into like the hull, and he's like, it's full in here, Marinette, go up there. And she looks at him like, got my eye on you. And then the same thing downstairs, and Adrian's like, where's Marinette? Which I loved. Protective boyfriend Adrian. Yes, thank you. Love that. And then Luka's like, why do you need to find Marinette? You can't save her. The only people that can save her are Cat Noir and Ladybug, and you're neither of them. And Adrian's face is like, he knows. This man, he knows. Oh, it was amazing. So then Julika gets frisbeed. I don't know how to describe this akuma, it's very strange. But I didn't mind it, like I said. Bob isn't a serious character and gave a bit of comic relief to the episode. And honestly, I was expecting the song to just be complete silence. So I was a bit surprised. So then Cat Noir comes out with a duck, and oh my god, that duck song. What a tune. Loved it, loved it. And I loved like the whole fight sequence where Adrian was kind of in control. I know Ladybug was still in charge, and she was like, you gotta distract him for me till we sort this out. He was like, yep, that's fine, I can do that. He was great. The whole sequence was great. Usually I don't care all that much, but since like the focus was on Ladybug and Luka and their discussion, which ended up being quite serious, well, not quite serious in a way, not super serious. And then it was kind of a bit of comic relief again with Adrian and Bob Roth. This episode just had a really great balance to it. I really loved it. So now let's talk about the Ladybug and Luka chat. As soon as it like zoomed out, we saw the road and Swan Island. I was like, yes, here. It's gonna tell him, because Wishmaker, it took place on Swan Island. I was like, yes, has to tell him. Oh, it was, yeah. And then he called her Marinette twice and she didn't pick up on it, and I was just like screaming. And I just thought the reaction of Marinette was so plausible in this. I just thought it was so well done. I sometimes don't always think the emotional reactions of the characters in Miraculous are always correct, basically. Like, for example, when Adrian first saw Amelie, his aunt, again in Felix, he was pretty okay with that, but I'm like, this is your mum's identical twin. Your mum is missing / dead, and he just gasped and then was fine with it. I feel like Adrian should have had a much more visceral reaction to seeing someone who looks like his dead / missing mum, and then a gasp, and then he was fine. So I don't always think they get the emotions sometimes, like as an emotional reaction, correct in Miraculous, but I thought this was great. So Marinette, when she finally picked up that Luka was calling her by her actual name, not Ladybug, she was like panicking, like, how do you know? Did I make a mistake? What happened? Which I think was pretty accurate. Like, Marinette, obviously what happened in Strike Back was a huge mistake. She doesn't want to make any more mistakes, completely gets her emotional reaction, but because Luka, of how he is at the start of the episode and just overall in general, he just has like the innate power within himself to calm everyone in the vicinity down. We love Luka. This episode just made me like Luka even more. I've always liked him, even though I never shipped Luka, I've always liked Luka. I just thought he was wonderful. But this episode made me like him so much more. And then he left. Thanks, Luka. Great. So after the Akuma attack, they're back on the boat, and this is another thing, it's like a tiny thing, but I was like, So they all rip the contracts up, and as far as my understanding of contracts go, which is very little, but I'm pretty sure ripping up a contract doesn't actually void a contract. Like, I have a contract with my publisher for my publishing agreement and stuff like that, and I could go and get it out and rip it up now, but I don't think that would actually make a difference. The only thing it would do is rip it up. I don't think that actually makes a contract null and void. Like I said, I've never taken like any law classes. I don't know for certain, but I feel like in order to make a contract null and void, everyone who has signed the contract has to agree to it being null and void, which Bob doesn't seem to agree to. So, as far as my understanding of it goes, is that it's not possible to just rip it up and be like, oh, we're free. No. Okay. So at the very ending, Luka decides to leave and his mum was like, don't do this as like a heroic thing, and he's like, no, I'm not, I have to go. And I was like, it's still sad, but Luka, you know, I think he's totally right to leave. Not that I'm not sad about it, I am, but like, he's gonna be in so much danger, and like Luka says, because Marinette's like, well, Ladybug and Cat Noir can protect you. It's like, you've got other people to protect. If Luka stayed and you were like 24/7 guarding him, Monarch would be setting other Akuma villains up, destroying the city, and Luka would at some point be left alone and become a target. Like, it would be kind of selfish of Luka if he stayed. Like, I'm sure he kind of wants to stay, that's where his friends and family are, but like, he knows it's going to be selfish if he stays because Ladybug and Cat Noir can't save the city. So it was definitely the right decision to leave. There with him, 100%. Then the other thing I didn't like so much as well was Jagged Stone. Like, I did kind of think it was going to be with Jagged that Luka would leave, since Jagged's super rich by the sounds of things, and he's a celebrity, so it kind of makes sense, and like Jagged's never really had a solid foundation. Like, he lives in a hotel, he doesn't have an actual home, so it did kind of make sense. But I just feel like in order for Jagged to have changed like that, we needed to see a bit more of him from probably like between Truth and now. I couldn't even tell you the last time we saw Jagged Stone, to be honest. I don't know. What was the last episode Jagged was in? I don't know. Like, maybe it's not that big of a deal because, like I said, he's such a side character, but if he was going to become so important and go away with Luka and show how much he's changed, that he's trying to be a better father, I think it would have been a more powerful moment. Plus as well, you got to consider, okay, yeah, you're going away to spend some great quality time with Luka, but you're leaving Juleka here, your daughter. Now I know Juleka's got a mum, but like, okay, so you're leaving your daughter? How's Juleka gonna feel about that? Not that I want Juleka to leave as well, but Juleka must be feeling some type of way, right? So I'm a bit like, I feel like it needed a bit more looking at with Jagged Stone. Just a few scenes here and there. It didn't need loads, just a little something. But then I just loved at the end, like the group hug, the little looks Luka gave to Adrian and Marinette, and then the end cards. They are the best. I love this little family of Jagged, Luka and Penny. Penny. Best stepmom. I need to see more of her. I really hope Luka is back for the finale though. Same with Alex, like they are sacrificing so much for Adrian and Marinette, and don't get me wrong, like they need to, otherwise they're going to be in a lot of danger. But I can't imagine how each of them feels, so I hope they get to come back for the finale, which I think in my head makes sense. You know, it's the finale, it's the end of the Aggressed arc, it's going to be like a massive showdown. So I think it makes sense for them to make an appearance. But yeah, I don't have loads of bad things to say, mainly about Jagged Stone, the contracts ripping up, and whether Monarch would kind of know what Luka was thinking. But like I said, I kind of love how dramatic that scene was, so part of me also doesn't care about that. I'm more bothered about the contracts and Jagged Stone than the Monarch thing. But overall I did think it was amazing. Like I said, 9.5 out of 10. If I thought it was terrible, I would have given it a 4, you know what I mean? I think overall a lot of the episodes have been good. It's more of the overall structure of the season when you watch it all in chronological order, how fast paced and out of breath it makes you feel. So 9.5 out of 10, MVP without a shadow of a doubt is of course Luka. How could it not be Luka? He was amazing, and like I said, I want him back for the finale. He better be back or I'm gonna cry. So I'd love to know what you think of this, besties. As always, if you're gonna write me a little essay, please break it up into paragraphs. The paragraphs don't have to make sense. I'm not marking it, I'm not your English teacher, just so it makes it easier to read on a screen. As you can see, I've got bad eyesight, so just breaking up for me would help tremendously. So I'd love to know what you think, especially about, first of all, Jagged Stone, if you know anything about law, the contracts, because I don't know, and also your opinions on Monarch, finding out Luka knows. Part of me is like, I don't think he should have been able to work it out, but part of me is like, you know what, I don't care, because I love how dramatic that was. It was great. It also puts Luka in more danger if Monarch Daddy knows, you know. So I'd love to know how you think about that. Right now I'm on the fence about it. But anyway, besties, I'd love to know what you all think, and I will see you in the next one for Derision tomorrow. Bye!